everyone, and welcome to Hit and Hustle from OurSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flammang, and with me, as always, is Jamie Uyeyama, Mr. Jamie University. It is Thursday, March 27th. We're going to talk about some spring camp storylines today, what's going on in different positions. O-line's got some intriguing stuff going on. We'll talk about that. Talk about quarterbacks, of course. We'll talk about Jeremiah Love and the slot taking wide receiver reps and things of that nature, and anything else that Jamie and I have found interesting from spring camp so far. And Notre Dame's got their pro day going on right now. I saw Jordan Clark was posted. He did 18 reps on the bench at 225. Impressive number for his size. Not a big guy. 18 reps is a lot. So that's probably going to be, you know how they have the mock draftable, Jamie? It's going to be high on the percentile for his height and weight.
That's going to be insane, actually.
Yeah. So that's a good job by Jordan Clark. That starts in about, 20 minutes on Peacock. I've got it up here. We'll monitor that and anything else that's going on. That's going to be our show today. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell so you know whatever it is. We are going live. Links to the podcast, as always, are going to be in the description below. And as always, the show is brought to you by ESQ Clothing, founded by Notre Dame alum Ge Wang. You've seen ESQ on all your favorite Notre Dame players and coaches. I just recently did an interview with Ian Book. That's live on our YouTube page. And he went with an ESQ suit for his wedding, Jamie. So you have seen it on ESQ and all your favorite Notre Dame players, Ian Book being one of them. He's been doing it since book an appointment, upgrade your wardrobe. I see. So what I did is I messed it up. I messed up the rhythm
because I
forgot where I'm at. Because of the Ian Book thing.
The book. It made the transition harder.
God, not good. Visit ESQclothing.com. Book an appointment.
Even the greats strike out every once in a while.
That's right. On opening day, no less. Book an appointment to upgrade your wardrobe today. Mention ISD. Get 10% off your entire purchase. That's ESQclothing.com. Jamie, how's it going? Joel Easton. Ian, book your appointment. Jesus level stuff. You know what? That Joel Easton. There you go. Book your appointment. You know what was interesting, Jamie? Speaking of the Ian Book interview, it was my impression that in 2018, that quarterback battle was a lot more open than it turns out that it was. He said he didn't get equal reps and he almost never repped with the ones. That's not a quarterback battle. And I kind of told him that, when I was talking to him, that's not a quarterback battle at all. If you're not repping with the ones and you're not getting equal reps, he talked about being very frustrated. I thought that was very interesting.
Yeah. Well, I do remember that camp. Specifically,
were you covering that?
Yes, I was.
Okay, all right.
And I don't remember that spring that well, but I do remember that fall camp.
That was what he said. He was like, I don't have a great memory of the spring, but he did remember fall.
Yeah, I don't remember a lot about that spring. I do remember that fall camp, and I remember that the buzz, everything we had heard about the quarterback battle up until that time was that they want Wimbush to start against Michigan.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing. It was like, they think they're going to need his legs against Michigan. Obviously people can remember they had Case Winovich and Rashawn Gary. They had a crazy D-line that year. They had an insane pass rush. That was also, the first start for, a pretty young O-line for a lot of guys because they were kind of turning over from the 2017 offensive line that won the Joe Moore Award. So, and they were going into that game against that, and they were like, we're going to need his legs and his mobility in this game.
And Dexter Williams was suspended at that point.
Dexter Williams was suspended.
He wasn't playing.
There was a lot of questions in that game, and like they're going to need him in the running game. And I think, I think that's kind of like what they had settled on. Not that he was going to be the quarterback for the whole season, but that they needed him there. But I also remember like in 2017, like leading up into the bowl game, everyone's saying that like, oh, Book is just way better.
Yeah.
Like that was a thing where I remember that Equinemius St. Brown, obviously he left after that thing. And I think if they would have said Ian Book is the quarterback for next year, he might have still left. But I think what I had heard was like if they had said, oh, Ian Book is the quarterback for sure, there was a better chance he would have stayed. You know, like that kind of thing. That's how the receivers kind of felt about it during that time. I think there was definitely like a belief in Ian Book and just kind of like, you know, what he could do, that he was really just seemed to do better. And then also 2018 was also the infamous, you know, they're throwing like kind of as against air and
trying to throw it into the net,
throwing little swing passes to running backs. And it like, we just in Notre Dame Stadium, and the ball was like, it was like you could tell he had the yips.
It didn't look good, Jamie. It didn't
look good. It was like, it's never a good thing when the entire beat looks at each other like, oh, like it was that kind of thing. So, you know, hey, what do you know? It's foreshadowing.
Yeah, I remember there was a kind of a thing where it cost. I don't know that it cost them Amon-Ra St. Brown, but it was like part of the thing. Like he really liked Notre Dame, and then it was like I can't, like I have my high school quarterback is going to USC, and you know my brother is at Notre Dame, and he can't, you know, he can't complete passes, you know. So it was you know, not the best.
No, it wasn't
situation. Yeah, but obviously it got worked out. But check it out if you haven't. I don't want to go too far into it because it's just like there's a lot there that he was talking about, just like what goes into a quarterback battle and what his mentality was and kind of how they grade everything. I was kind of curious about that, how things get graded and how much weight gets put on each grade and how each day goes and the communication that he has with coaches. And
yeah, I thought it was super interesting.
Yeah, his relationship.
You should definitely check it out.
Yeah, his relationship with Tommy Rees, I thought it was really good. So, all right, let's talk about some spring storylines here. Let's start with the O-line, right? I think a lot of people are kind of interested in where people are lining up and things of that nature. Gerby Lambert's still working on the right side. Joe Rudolph did say that he's working right and left. Joe Rudolph also mentioned like it is possible that Emil Wagner could move to the left. When you know things kind of ramp up for him. I thought that was super interesting. I'll show some clips right now of just some like practice period. You know, Matt put in his observations like Charles Jagusa is not a small person, and
yeah, he's a monster.
You'll see in these reps. Gerby Lambert is enormous. He is so big. It's going to be very hard for. It's going to be very hard to just keep him off the field in general. I don't want to like try to extrapolate from that or what I think that means. I just think as a matter of fact, it's going to be hard to keep him off the field, Jamie.
Yeah, I think it is going to be very hard. Man, I mean, this is one of these things too, where people just please do not overreact to when you see people hitting the sled and these individual sled things. You're not getting much out of this. But here, obviously, that's a lot of beef right there. That's a lot of beef. Those are two. Look how huge Gerby Lambert is, and it's true. He does. He makes Charles Jagusa look small, right? And obviously, that's Styles Prescott and Sullivan Abisher there. But I'll tell you what. I know you like the beef there and you like to see the way they move, but I like when I see that because I always think of when you're thinking about zone runs, and I know we're transitioning to these other guys. When we talk about zone runs, I want to see those guys, you know, bucket step, get out and reach. And I like the way that Gerby Lambert moves doing that. I also like the way Styles Prescott moved during that too. So, but yeah, I've seen a lot of good punch. I will say we missed it there, but if you go back and look at it, you don't have to rewind it, Greg. But I'm just saying for people to go back and look at it.
I can't actually.
Yeah. But Armel Mukum, he looked. Yeah, that was a pretty nice punch there on the bag. I think I don't know why Matt included that one. I think he included it on purpose. Catch a ball with two hands, guys. Catch the ball with two hands. I think it's fair to say. Really like just how Elijah Burris gets in and out of his breaks. He's just he's a smooth cat, man. Obviously, Jaden Greathouse, for people who think that, he was whatever, he's always seems to be doing stuff. There's difference, obviously, between the guys they restrict and not. Obviously, Emil Wagner doesn't seem to be doing as much. And Greathouse does seem to be doing more. So, that's not nothing.
Well,
Something to monitor.
I thought it was interesting, like, because Greathouse, he was put on the list of like partial participants or whatever.
Yeah.
When they put that out, I thought that was weird because like Emil Wagner, right? Like he almost played 1,000 snaps last year. He led the team in total snaps, and like, okay, that makes sense. He's a lineman, whatever. Greathouse only played. He didn't even play 500. Like he didn't play that many snaps. So I thought it was interesting. And look, he's out there doing it, right? So to his credit, right? Like I think he was on the list, but I think for him, it's like, no. Like I'm getting working, right? Like I'm going to be practicing. And, he's obviously making the most of it. I think Faison's doing that as well, which is great to see, right? Like you want those leaders out there. You need that leadership. I think like Greathouse is kind of a sleeper captain's choice possible.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Like he's kind of in there. Like it's not often you see a wide receiver. And if you do, they got to be a senior, but there's not a lot of experience on the offense. And, I think Jeremiah Love is, I think he's clearly a candidate for that as well.
Yeah.
But I think it's going to be hard for a quarterback this year. It's going to be hard for a lineman this year, I think. So someone like Greathouse, like, he's played a ton of football for Notre Dame, played huge in the semifinals and the championship game. So that's going to be interesting, Jamie. What do you think about the prospect of Emil Wagner going to the left? I mean, to me, that would signal they want Gerby Lambert to start on the right.
I mean, yeah. Oh, definitely. If that happens, I mean, I think it's one of those things. It's like, I mean, it was asked. The question was asked, and he didn't bring it up on his own. So I always think about how when that happens, when they're, in these interviews and you're asking someone about it, and he's like, "Oh, it's a possibility." If someone brings it up on their own, then I've kind of take a little bit more, put a little bit more stock into it.
Yeah.
I know one thing they said with Wagner, they thought he was a little bit more comfortable on the right side last year. So that'll be kind of interesting. Obviously, Cam Herron, he was asked about Anthony Knapp, and Anthony Knapp has just been working with the tackles, and that's it. So obviously he's the guy who started at left tackle all of last season. So I don't know. I mean, they could do a lot. I think they're going to do a lot of mix and matching. And I get it too when people were like wondering why Jagasaw wasn't like at left tackle, just because obviously he went into.
I was very surprised that was like people were like, "This is news." I was like, "Is it?" Like I don't think it made a lot of sense for him to be a tackle, given what the rest of their roster, not him specifically.
Yeah,
but just the rest of the roster. I thought it was an expectation.
Well, I mean, because I think if you think about it too, if right away is if they say that Knapp is going to stay at tackle, and you have Wagner, who obviously is going to be a starter,
right? And
they like Lambert, so you're just going to try to force him into this thing, like rather than have him. And it's not to say he couldn't be. Obviously, he was going to start at left tackle the previous year, so it was. Yeah. It's not like crazy to wonder that, but I wouldn't say anyone should harp on it or make that a point of emphasis, because one, he did play in that Penn State game and played exceptionally well at guard. And I think part of the reason that he moved to tackle, because when he first arrived at Notre Dame, that was where they were working him in at guard in that original camp that he came in. He was working at right guard. So that's probably kind of how they saw where his best fit was. And obviously that was when Alt and Fisher were there or whatever, right? And I think over time, because they didn't have, they didn't feel that Wagner had developed enough at that time. Obviously he didn't, like Tosh Baker beat him out to be the starting right tackle in the Oregon State game, right? So they didn't feel he had developed enough at that time. Knapp wasn't there yet. Obviously Lambert wasn't there yet. Like, it's different. They don't have like Will Black coming in. Obviously, they got Matty Augustine. They they're repping Styles Prescott there, which also isn't surprising to me because I think, like, if you look at it, he has left tackle feet and he's a guy that can play out there. So, and when you have Jagasaw, like, if you think that he can be Quentin Nelson, would you not keep him that card? Like,
yeah.
And it is one thing too. Like, it could be just as simple as they think that Jagasaw, it can be, win the Lombardi Award and be the best guard in all of college football, or he can be just a really good left tackle. And sometimes you're just gonna do that because you think this is what's gonna do it. You also want, like, hey, this is what we want in the running game. Thinking about, like, take a look at Lambert and Jagasaw when the beef there on the right side, and what it would be like running behind those guys, or him and Wagner, like, working there. So I think there's a lot of kind of stuff that goes into making those decisions and what you think. And then also too, spring is the time to play around with it. And if they did it and say they come out of spring and they're like, Lambert, he's not ready yet. He's just not ready.
Yeah.
Or Prescott, who's really getting his real first kind of extended time there, they say he's, oh no, he's not a guy that I think can be this tackle, or they're like, Augustine needs some time, or Will Black comes in and they're like unsure.
Yeah.
Well, you can kick Jagasa out to tackle, right? That's something that you can do. So I think there's still like a lot of options you can kind of play around with. Obviously they're working Sullivan Absher at center right now, which I think is good. It's always good to do that, but he might not ever take a snap at center in his career. He might not ever do it. Like, we've talked about how they did that with other guys, and then they never end up playing center, right? So it's just one of those things. It's like a good skill set to have just in case, like, hey, maybe he is the backup center if you don't like feel good about the other guys, right? So you mix and match, you kind of figure out who the best 5 are, and you got to figure out who the best 7 or 8 are. I really do think they're going to have 7 or 8 guys that are probably, starting quality.
Yeah.
And they're in a good spot. I wanted to get to this too because Greg Wassman asked about the yips. I thought that was like pretty common. People knew what the yips are, but if you don't know what the yips are, think of Chuck Knobloch. If you're a baseball fan,
yeah,
him being unable to throw to first base. It's like a mental. It's like a mental.
Like it's just when you, like, you go through daily life and it's just normal things, right? Like, you get the ball, throw to first base, but now you get the ball and you're thinking of everything. Now it's because it's mindless, right? Like, it's when you have mindless actions in sports, or in whatever. And now all of a sudden you're thinking about, okay, how's the ball coming off my hand? How am I going to, like, when do I let go of it? What is my arm angle? Like, you're thinking about all of it when you shouldn't be thinking at all. You should just be doing. That's what the yips are,
Yeah.
You hear it in golf, you hear it in, it's a sport like that. We're talking about Will Black here. I want to kind of discuss, like, so we're spending a lot of time on the quarterbacks, Jamie. And I was thinking the other day, like, the quarterback could really, I don't want to say be de-emphasized a bit, but like, this running game could really, really be very good. Like, very, very good. Like, we were talking about how, like, the running back room could be like, the mid 90s or whatever, right? With all those guys. And I just think because Steve Angeli in the Sun Bowl, right? What was he like? Let's think of it. However he played in the Sun Bowl, that might be good enough just on a weekly basis for Notre Dame, given the way the running game is. They have explosiveness, they have durability, they have inside running from that crew. They have multiple backs. There's multiple things that they can do, and with the offensive line, they could run for 250 a game, Jamie. They could. So to me, it's almost like it's almost like we talk so much about like it all comes down to the quarterbacks. I don't know that it does this year. Obviously, you want to pick your best guy and you want to find the guy who you think can win you a game. But this running game, it could be like I think we're kind of, because of the quarterback battle, we're underselling how good this running game can be this year. It can be an all-timer at Notre Dame. I think that's on the table. Tell me if I'm wrong on that.
No, I think it's on the table for sure, right? And I think that when you kind of think of like the most like prolific that I can recall, I think of like especially the beginning of that, the kind of like the first like probably 8 games of that 2017 season, where they were just like, I mean, just I don't know how many 300-yard games. I'll have to look it up off the top of my head what it was, but it seemed like they rushed for 300 in like 5 of the 8 weeks or something like that. It was insane, right? So I think that it might not happen that way, like that easily or whatever, going into it. Okay, here's this. Okay, this is just insane. Okay. 422, obviously against Georgia, 55.
Not good.
Yeah, 515 the next week against BC, 182 versus Michigan State, 333, 341, 377, 318, 380. It slowed down quite a bit. And part of that too was because teams have to respect you throwing the ball and some of the RPO stuff and whatever. And they just stopped respecting it because they were like, Wimbush can't complete it. So that played a part in their thing, what they were doing. And then teams also scouted what Notre Dame was doing and they played it differently. And Notre Dame actually didn't do a good enough job like adjusting to what that was like there. So
also,
I mean, that's
like we're on opening day for baseball. This is a baseball term. It kind of was a team that could really hit bad pitching,
Yeah.
Like you see it in baseball, like you see these guys they hit 50 home runs or whatever it might be. But it's like you face during the regular season, you face a lot of number 2 guys, number 3 guys, number 4 guys, right? In the playoffs, you don't face those guys. Like you're facing, because it's the playoffs, you got good pitchers, the number 1, you're facing the ace 3 times in 5 games, right? Or 7 games. You're facing the number 2 times in 7 games. Like all of a sudden and so to bring it back to football, like you play the good teams, like the really good run defenses, and it's not that easy, right? Like they destroyed all of those, those teams that couldn't really stop
any team that was average or below average. They just smoked.
Yeah.
And obviously you kind of expect that, but you have to. They didn't end up developing the passing game. One, because I mean, Wimbush was under a 50% completion percentage, right? So that was part of it. Whoever's the quarterback this year is not going to be under 50%. So, you don't have to worry. You don't have to worry about that kind of thing. But, I mean, I do think they're going to lean on the backs, but it's funny because somebody asked me in a question on Six Thoughts this week about, Denbrock and, whether or not like has he always used quarterbacks so heavily in the running game. And really he has always had a dual threat basically since he's done it. Like he had Kaiser and Zaire at Notre Dame, and then he had Ritter at Cincinnati, and then Jade Daniels and Leonard. And all of those guys were used in the running game, but they weren't like the primary like guy. And even Love was more of Love had more design carries than Leonard, because you're taking it scrambles and stuff too. But Leonard was obviously a huge part of the running game, but that's because that was Leonard. Like, it's like you're leaning into his strength, of what he is as a player. And also part of like when they were developing the passing game and he wasn't doing it as much, like you're going to use that because it's just like a unique weapon. They're not going to run whoever the quarterback is as much as Leonard, but I don't care who it is. Angeli, Minchie, or Carr, those guys are running. They're going to run them, and they'd be stupid not to. One, which is also too one of the reasons why I've always been very lukewarm on Noah Grubbs is he hasn't been that guy, and I don't really see him ever becoming that. So despite, I mean, obviously he's got size, right? And he's not like a statue or anything, but he just hasn't been used as a runner, and he's not that where, you can watch, like, even Angeli was used as a runner in high school. And if you go look at the Oregon State game too, right? His only start, he had 6 carries in that game, 47 yards, like 2 of them are scrambles, but he still had 4 designed runs in the game, which, that isn't a ton of, carries like that, but you still have to have it in your playbook. You have to have that. I think it's critical. Look at Ohio State with Will Howard, who was way more of a runner at Kansas State, and they didn't have to use him as much as a runner at Ohio State. But when it came time to, like, hey, they needed him as a runner, in the national championship game, they used him, right? So that's going to be something, no matter who it is, it's going to be part of it. It's going to be part of it, and I think it's important.
Yeah. James Lawrence Zensi says, I'm not as concerned about D-tackle with Onye coming back. Heinisch, Dawson, Onye, and Rubio should be a good enough rotation. And I do want to point out, like, Armel Mukum there's been a lot of positive comments about Armel Mukum over the last, week or so, right? And I think with him now becoming, I think, a factor, I think you can kind of put him in. It's possible he could have that kind of Onye early 2024 kind of breakout, right? Where it's like, oh, like he's every time he's in the game, he's doing something positive, right? And like that kind of contribution from him this year, I think would be very, very beneficial to the defensive tackle rotation, period. You also have Elijah Hughes as an option. Have over time, the way that, not necessarily the way that they've played, but like the fact that Onye has now, like, you kind of see, like, okay, he's been a part of everything. Like I think at the start of it, when he first started joining the team, it was like still questions about how much involved with the team he would be. I think now that it kind of seems like, okay, he's going to have a very similar kind of role to last year, and Mukum coming on, and with the transfers coming in, are you starting to feel a little bit better about the defensive tackle situation than maybe you would have, like, I don't know, a month ago, 2 months ago?
I mean, I kind of felt like the same way about a month ago, really, that they were in a pretty good shape. As soon as you found out that Onye was going to be back, I thought, I was like, wow, they really, like, they're going to be more than fine, because they just have so many options there, right? And I mean, obviously, it depends on, like, well, is Mukum going to take that step? What about Sean Seviano? Like, what about, what is Hughes going to be a possibility? You have to see with all these guys. And the real question is whether or not, like, say, like, someone like Dawson is going to be like, whoa, he's a real factor. Like he's playing, and Al Washington brought it up too, right? He wants guys to get to, like, the level that they were getting from, Cross and Mills when they're at their peak, right? Like, he wants that. And I think that is kind of like the big question when you still kind of figure out, but I'm not worried about, like, depth of the rotation. I just think they're going to have enough guys there. It's just that, are they going to have guys that really, like, affect the game when they're really, when they really need it, right? When they really kind of need it. Cause I think, like, they have guys who are going to be havoc guys at linebacker. And I really think they are going to have havoc guys at edge too. Some really, exciting things that Washington was saying about Bryce Young as well. But I think you want to have that kind of, like, across the line. So if they can get that from the position, then, I really think that, man, it's going to be kind of scary, because that really is kind of the biggest question on the defense, which goes to show too that there just aren't a lot of questions about the defense. Like, it's going to be, Chris Ash, already talking about him enhancing some stuff. we walked into a good situation. They're in a pretty good spot.
Yeah, not a lot of questions with the defense. Not a lot of questions for VSR Media and what they can do for you. They can do everything, right? A lot like Notre Dame's defense can. And so you're going to want to check them out for your social media page or for your small business or for your highlight reel, whatever it might be. Of course, founded by Notre Dame football pregame host and Emmy Award-winning anchor Vahid Sadrazadeh, VSR Media provides professional and cinematic video and photo. Whether you're looking for a collegiate or pro-level highlight reel, have a personal story to tell, or aiming to diversify and grow your business, VSR Media specializes in short and long form video storytelling, social media management, and website design. VSR Media also captures professional headshots, senior and sports photos. Contact them at vsrmediacompany.com. Mention Irish Sports Daily to receive 20% off your first project. Visit them online or give them a call at 574-800-9106. Looking at some pro day stuff going on right now. Ben Morrison, 17 reps on bench.
Ooh, that's impressive too.
That's good because he's got long arms.
Yeah,
he's got long arms, Jamie. I think he's going to run at the at his own little showcase.
Yeah,
that's going on, but he is doing some pro day stuff, which is good because, and we kind of talked about this with Kyle Hamilton when he worked out. There were some things that he didn't do, and he did a lot of combine stuff, but he didn't do that much at the pro day. But he went because he's obviously a major prospect, and when the major prospect works out, that means a whole bunch of other scouts come to see all that.
Personnel, people that
helps,
whatever. Yeah.
It helps the other guys who aren't as high profile, right? So if they know, like, oh, he's not going to do anything, I'm just not going to go. The fact that they go, Ben Morrison's doing some stuff, brings a lot more scouts to the thing, so that's a big deal. Just looking, it doesn't seem like Xavier Watts is working out. He was wearing he wasn't sweaty, and he was wearing like his pullover, like he's just in a warm-up suit, and all the rest of the guys are in shorts and stuff. So I don't think he's doing stuff today, which doesn't make me happy. He cut his hair. He cut his hair all like KVA did.
I mean, I wonder if he's hurt then.
I mean, maybe he just wants more time, like maybe he's going to do the thing that Morrison did because, like, again, so we mentioned Emil Wagner, like he was first on the team in total snaps. Xavier Watts was second on the team with total snaps. I don't know how much special teams Watts did, but if he did, he went over 1,000 snaps for the year. It's just a lot, it's a lot for anyone to do. What have you kind of seen just in the clips that you've seen? Small stuff, we're talking about snapshots, snap impressions. But you mentioned, Elijah Burris, watching him run around. You mentioned Scrap Richardson running around. What have you kind of seen from those young guys, Cam Williams, guys like that? Obviously, there's not a lot of gleam, but there's something, right? What have you seen there?
Yeah, I mean, I think just when you see those receivers, it just jumps out. Like, I'm looking for like little details in terms of just like athleticism there because by now most of these guys, especially like what they're doing with Notre Dame, is most of these guys are like track fast, like they can run straight line, right? So I'm looking at stuff like, can they get in and out of breaks easy? Like what are their hips like when they're doing it? It's one of the reasons why, like, I always like watching DBs, like individual for DBs, because that's all you do in DB drills is like transitions, you get to see how fluid guys are. It's when I go to camps and I'm looking at like recruiting camps. I think you can see when you go watch like offensive or defensive linemen, you can see how they work in terms of like their effort and all that. And that's good. But you can see way more just in terms of the actual like translatable skills, because there's so much stuff of like with punch and just like footwork for defensive linemen that is so raw for so many of these guys that are in high school and for freshmen coming in, that you can, and I mean, if people kind of notice on the if you're looking at like the bag work or them hitting the sled there, you can see like the difference between the young guys and the older guys when they're doing it. But when you see, like the young guys, there's a lot of stuff too when it comes to, there isn't as big of a gap when you see guys just like maybe just like a little bit of like technicality in terms of just like wasted steps or whatever, but you're either fluid or you're not. Like you either kind of have it like where you can just really like, open up and move, you can explode out of, like, you can plant your foot in the ground and explode, or you can't. And that is something that I don't think, like, you can get better. You can become more efficient in ways, but you're not going to make that big of a jump with it. And so if you see like tight hips or like slow feet, or just guys like really like taking a long time to kind of like get their footwork kind of figured out, that is something that I think like stands out. And so, not to kind of dump on a guy who's not at Notre Dame anymore, but like that was always one thing when I saw Braylon James, I was like, there was just like a little bit there which kind of made sense. Maybe he's just more of a track guy, because he didn't have that. It didn't look natural for him getting out of his race compared to someone like Jaden Greathouse, which you would put them up, and in testing, Braylon James would blow him out of the water in athletic testing, but he couldn't get in and out of his breaks the same way that Greathouse did. And I think so that's something that I definitely look at.
Yeah. And like to be clear, like someone like Braylon James can, like, I think of someone who kind of worked out was and was like a productive player was Braden Lindsay. Like, I don't think he get in and out of breaks as good as like, you would want, and certainly not as good as Greathouse, but you can be successful. Right. So that's why you take speed guys like him. Cause obviously he could get down the field real fast, but like Elijah Burris, like he has that, suddenness right in and out. It's just like there is and this is what Greathouse has too. It's just that ability to make that cut when you've got the DB kind of wrong-footed. Yeah. There's a time, who was really good at this was Michael Mayer. He was like a master at that. Just like, he wasn't super explosive, but man, he knew how to cut when you were not ready,
That's why he was the master of option routes. Yeah.
James Lawrence NC says they have a lot of guys with experience that played a lot of snaps. As always, wide receiver is the group that he's worried about. Are you worried about wide receiver to the extent that?
I think I'm not worried about it comparatively to other years that they've had. I think obviously if you look at 2020 and 2022 were rough looking years.
Yeah.
At the position. Like really rough. And then I mean 2023 as well too, right? Like you could just see it was like they needed so much to go right. Like they couldn't afford for like Jade Thomas, who's no longer at Notre Dame. They needed him to be like, they really need him to take a step and stay healthy. And then he got hurt early, and then that was like a big problem, because that meant they had to play like Rico Flores. If you look at just like his number of snaps and targets as a freshman, they're way up there, but he didn't really earn that. It kind of just happened because they didn't have anybody else. Right. So they needed somebody to just play there. Right. And then even Greathouse, he had the hamstring that year too, right? Even though it was a freshman, but just, it wasn't a good situation for them at all, where I think this year, and I wrote about it too, that they have how it's set up with Greathouse and Faison back, and what they did last year, just a number of catches, they had. And then you add on Will Pauling and Malachi Fields, who, if you look at the last 2 years, those guys combined for over 200 something, like 220 something catches.
Yeah.
That's a lot of production you're bringing back. That's a lot of guys who've had experience and have done things that like and they've made plays. Greathouse has made plays. Faison has made plays. Can you say that one of these guys is a dominant guy, or they're going to have a dominant wide receiver group? No, that is definitely in question, right?
Yeah.
And we're going to see, and it's all going to depend on like Greathouse. If that was, those last two games, if that's like Miles Boykin going from like the end of, 2017 to 2018, then, I mean, they're in good shape. If Malachi Fields is the exact same guy that he was at Virginia with better quarterback play, and they get that from Greathouse, they're already way better at receiver than they have been in probably years.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, I think if you look, if Malachi Fields and Will Pauling had their exact last two seasons at Notre Dame, and you kind of combine that with like Jaden Greathouse and Jordan Faison, like there would be no questions about the receiver group. That's four guys who have done. And look, I it doesn't always translate, but like Malachi Fields, I think people kind of lump him into the like the Bo Collins kind of like, oh, he was a boundary, whatever. Like Malachi Fields has done much better numbers than Bo
he was
Collins
way better
in his time at Clemson. That's just a fact. When we're talking over 100 catches the last 2 years, like it is a different caliber of player. And I think even Will Pauling, like he was talking about, Devontae Smith and how those two battled when they played. He had 9 catches against Alabama. Like Will Pauling had 9 catches against Alabama,
Yeah.
Like if you can do that against Alabama, you can do it against pretty much anyone, It certainly will translate to Notre Dame. Like maybe better than someone like Chris Mitchell at FIU, where it's like he did numbers, but it's like, I don't, what do those numbers kind of mean in that situation? So, it's hard because you just haven't, Malachi Fields isn't out there, Will Pauling is, but we just got to see it a little bit more, but I don't know. I think just based on that, like they do have good experience. It just feels like not. I'm very frustrated at this Micah Gilbert situation where he's like, I pick him to be a breakout guy, and then he's hurt and he's not doing it. And it's not like Matt said, it's not like a major injury or whatever. It's just like, it's one of those things, like he's not going to be at spring practice for a little bit,
Yeah.
And
it was going to be a big opportunity for him.
Yeah. E. Olson. Now that numbers are assigned, give us your numbers takes. Do you have a numbers take, Jamie? Any take on that?
Yeah, you know what? I love this question. Love these. These are fun questions.
You like this question?
Yeah, I do, because
great. I'm excited.
Yeah. Because I think too, because I people should care about their number. I think there's a lot of stuff that you can't, like, maybe some people don't, but I like, to have my number that I always wanted. And like I think most people kind of feel that certain way. Maybe there's some things you care about, some things you don't. I think getting certain numbers is a big deal. I always like that at Notre Dame, that like numbers mean something depending on who wore it before.
Yeah.
Right. Like, I think that's cool. Like, so when I'm looking at, like, it's funny looking at Devontae Smith wearing 0 out there, and you can't help but think of that squats,
because
right?
he's got the dreads and
and also too, I'm like, okay, well, Devontae Smith, who I do have pretty high expectations for, but I'm thinking like, well, if he has like a good year, then all of a sudden 0 is going to become a thing. Like, people like are going to want to have 0 and rock 0 all the time. Which I think is awesome. Like, that's great. And like, how like important the number 3 is at Notre Dame. How, 25, the Rocket, right? Like that kind of thing. I do like single digits for defensive linemen. Like, I always thought that was great. Like Big Lou Nix getting 1, right? To it. Obviously right now, Boubacar Traore getting 5, right? Which is obviously that's Teo's number, right? Like, I don't think wait, I'm going to look real quick, but there isn't a number 9 on defense right now, right? But I think of Jalen Smith.
Yeah.
Right. And, I don't think he'll change it, but I think it would be really cool if, we saw somebody else rock, that 9, and like, another linebacker rock that number 9, right? It doesn't have to be a linebacker. It could be, something else, but just something else on defense. 9 on offense is obviously Eli Reardon. And I think that was Rudolph's number too, right? Like he was 9, right?
So, Kyle Rudolph was 9. Yes.
Yeah. So that's like, yeah, I always think of that kind of stuff. And I like it. Like I think it's just one of those things too, where I always thought it was stupid where, you have to kind of like fit into this one thing to be like, well, linemen got to wear this, and then quarterbacks can only be this, and receivers, like the NFL's, a lot stricter with it. But I think that's one of the great things about college football is you can see guys with kind of like unorthodox numbers. And obviously you see it all around college football, right? And I like when guys change numbers to something else because it's like, well, they kind of earned it, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. I enjoy it. What do you think?
So Leonard Moore takes number 2. I dig, right? I thought 15 was fine, but I number 2 is good, right? I think that kind of works out. I like it when the high school number becomes available.
Yeah.
Like there's like a symmetry with that. Let's see. 22, Aeneas Williams goes to 22. I think that's fine, right? It's funny too, like you talk about the thing with the guy, it looks like him, like Nolan James. How does he not look just like Kyron? He's even got the tats and all that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable to me how that works out sometimes. So,
but like was 23, like, I mean, maybe I'm just forgetting, but I don't remember 23 being like a prominent number for anyone. And then Kyron made it.
Until Kyron.
And then now, if Nolan James, like, I love that. I love that, especially because I think like there's so much about Notre Dame that is about like tradition and like playing for obviously the guys on the team and for yourself, but like playing for the people who did it before you.
Yeah.
And I think it's cool to like kind of have that and kind of carry on that tradition, or like even to say like you wore it and then now there's definitely more former players coming out to watch games and spring and all that than there was before, where some of those guys get to come out and come back, and they see those guys rocking their number, and that's always cool.
Yeah. Just checking out some pro day stuff. Marist, I see on the screen. Brian Mason, I see on the screen. Former Notre Dame special teams coach. Chris Mitchell ran his 40. What do you think he ran in 40? Hand time.
Okay.
He said not a 4.4. That's what he said. Not a 4.4. Don't say I run a 4.4. That's what he said.
Did you see it already?
Yes.
Okay. Man, I don't like to be way wrong on these. Not a 4.4.
But that's what he said like a year ago, right? Like when he came in.
4.52.
4.50.
Okay.
4.50. So he was right. He didn't run out of 4.4. Unfortunately, he was right the wrong way.
The wrong direction.
He said he was a 4.3 guy. Audrey Denson, number 23.
Yes. Of course.
Never really heard of him. He's not.
Of course. My apologies to Audrey Denson, because that is actually like, he was a fantastic 23.
Yeah. I mean, before that, I think
legendary 23.
Yeah. Before that, I think he was, Drew Tranquil wore 23. He was obviously a defensive guy. It's CJ Carr moves to 13.
Might have been a Joey Gethro. Was Joey Gethro a 23?
No. He was 18, I believe.
Okay.
I believe he was 18. Yeah. Riley Leonard. CJ Carr moves to number 13. So he's that's it. That was his high school number. So he likes that stuff. Bo Collins ran a 10-10 broad jump. By the way, like NBC, just Peacock. This is not
Their
good.
coverage is bad.
It's not. It's
when they've
not
done
good.
this.
They're
all over the map.
I see lots of talking. I don't see lots of doing. It's just I don't want to hate on it too much because like the people who are doing it, I'm sure are doing fine. But there's a lot of like pictures of people standing
I would
around.
say it's not the problem. It's not the fault of the announcers. It's the production of it.
Yeah.
And fair enough. It's not an easy thing to kind of like. It's different than the NFL combine and doing that because one, they have like different vantage points in that stadium that you can use that are much different. And, they always kind of focus on the 40 and then go out to the positions. And this one, it's just a little bit different, because there's multiple things going on at once and they don't really get it. They probably have less cameras there. So yeah, it's not the easiest thing, but yeah, it's never looked good.
No,
when they've done it.
No, I mean, show the 40s, man. Like, they're all running them. Just show the 40s. I saw a mock draft today. Matt Miller for ESPN. He had Xavier Watts going. Was it in the 30s? He went before. He went. He was in the 30s to the Bears, second round. And then he had Ben Morrison going after that. I thought it was interesting that Watts is now kind of Golden Tate number 23. we're not good on the 23, but you get what we're saying. Running back. Kyren Williams.
I always, for some reason, I thought he switched to a single digit.
Golden Tate?
Yeah.
No, he kept 23.
He kept 23. Oh man, you know what? Hey. Okay, sorry. You know what? Just totally blank on the thing. It's horrible job by me.
Listen, Jamie. When you're live, you just say stuff. I think the take stands, right? Like, since Autry Denson, there hasn't really been a running back in that number 23 who was like a dude. And then Kyren brought it back. I mean, Autry Denson was 1998.
But now you look at it and you're like, hey, Nolan James, man, you got a lot to live up to.
And it was just,
you got a lot to live up to.
Yeah, he looks just like him and he moves just like him. And like he had the same kind of tape. And now it's like, it's just funny how that works.
It is funny because it's so funny too, because everybody remembers, certain numbers and guys wearing, obviously, blanked out on those two guys who were studs. But everybody always thinks Clifford Jefferson. Number 15. Number 15. And like it was a curse, but it wasn't really, but he had some struggles and it was rough for 15s for a bit.
People old enough will remember when he signed with Notre Dame. It was huge. It was a big deal because he came from Texas and it was like Notre Dame took a top corner.
He's
very highly rated, very highly rated prospect. Do you want like I think we've kind of touched on this before, but like I truly don't understand why Morrison has fallen out of favor with people. I don't get it. He never
I think it's a medical. I think that's what it is.
Is it though? Like I just, why are some medicals like such a big deal and others aren't? Like he had a hip injury. It's not like is it something that's hard to come back from? I mean, maybe it's a question for your wife about this, but it just seems like he had rotator cuffs, injury on his hip. And it's like, look, I understand, like you need good hips as a corner. I get that. But like, do people not come back from this? Is that what it is? Is it just that serious of an injury?
I think I asked my wife about it at the time and she said, no, he'll be fine. Like he should be fine. Like it's something that people come back from. But I don't know. I think it's one of those things when you're looking at, and obviously at the position too, we talk about like hips and how important that is and stuff too. And then he had, he obviously had the shoulder before too. Yeah. So I don't know. It might be just that. I also think there's different views in terms of like, draft Twitter people.
Yeah.
And that like, it's very like in the now of like, this is who you're focused on. and things happen where all of a sudden, like somebody hears this guy's like really kind of moving up. And I think it's just one of those things where Ben Morrison easily could be somebody that gets drafted, 20th or something. If everything checks out and he tests well and all that kind of stuff too. Right. I just think that, easily could happen. But it will be seen maybe by some because of all this, because he didn't play and it's just he's not top of mind for people. And I always just kind of think too, he was just, he kind of came into it where Hunter and Will Johnson, I mean, both great players, right? Like they were already kind of positioned ahead of him. And that is something that like, so he was always there. And then all these other people get more tape to add to it. And he's not top of mind. So I think that has a lot to do with it. But ultimately, like, he could be someone that if, he's healthy and he's there, like, I think he's probably going to be a really good pro for a long time.
Like the Will Johnson piece is what is like weird to me because he also got hurt. He also had an injury. And like, I don't understand. Like I saw someone had him 5th on their board and it's like, what? Like, is he really that much better than Ben Morrison is? Like, I don't get it. I don't. I've never seen, like, I've seen him lose reps before. I've never seen him look bad in a rep, ever. Not once.
Yeah.
Where it's just like, he didn't look good there. Like, he looks good in every rep. Like, I don't know.
The last one, he looked bad and he gave up a touchdown against Syracuse when he was a true freshman. He literally has not had one of those where you're like, the leverage was not, you know what I mean? But that was honestly the last time that I can remember seeing Ben Morrison where I was like, wow, that was, not, I mean, you could see you're like the youth there. But from that point on, it was like, oh, like he just kind of locked down.
Yeah, I know what play you're talking about. And when I saw it, I was like, someone made a mistake, either him or someone else. But it's like he didn't lose because he got beat. He lost because he played it the wrong way.
Yeah, he played it the wrong way.
Yeah,
like, I mean, I'm just saying from that thing. It wasn't like a bad.
Yeah. Like
it wasn't athletically he got torched or anything.
Yeah, like he opened the gate and he allowed the guy to get in there, and I think he thought he was going to have help, and he didn't. And so whatever, I'm being pedantic about it, but I just think it's odd. And by the way, you brought up draft Twitter. I think things have gotten out of hand on that scene. Like that, industry has jumped the shark. I think it's time. There's too many draft guys who know everything about everything. And, look at this guy and this guy's, his hips and look at his feet. And it's just like, settle down. Everyone needs to, like, there's this whole thing about Will Campbell and his arm length and his 3/8 of an inch or whatever it is. It's just like, we got to chill, man.
Well, I think like, people saw Matt Miller, kind of go from like, hey, in the new age, because Mel Kiper is the original draft Twitter before draft Twitter. Like he was literally like, hey, I'm just a fan and I'm just like doing this, and became like a total NFL draft nerd. And he turned that into like his own industry. And I mean, kudos to him, man.
Yeah.
And then like Matt Miller is kind of like the new age of that, where he just like became that. And then people saw that Matt Miller works for ESPN now.
Yeah.
Which is like, he wasn't somebody who, grew up like in a thing. He didn't go through all these steps through it. He just literally, I'm not saying that he hasn't worked hard or whatever, or learned things and learned from scouts or whatever. I'm just saying he didn't go through like normal paths to get there. Yeah. He's not like Daniel Jeremiah, where it's like, well, he was a former NFL scout, so he was doing this, or
right.
He's not that. So people see that, and then there's a lot of people who've, done it. And some of them are really good. Like some of them are really good. And I have total respect for them. I just think, there's also some people that are just like bad and give really strong opinions on stuff that they don't know a lot about.
Yeah.
But that's like anything. It's like anything. It's just like the same thing with recruiting. I think there's a lot of people that are really, really good when it comes to recruiting out of the evaluations of media. And there's a lot of people that are like, I wouldn't be looking at them for that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Peacock is now not showing Notre Dame doing stuff, but they are showing Marcus Freeman participate in this combine workout. So,
okay.
Impressive stuff from him. So, all right, we can end it there. Thank you everyone for tuning in today. If you like what you hear, please hit the like button. Please hit subscribe. Please hit the notification bell. So whatever it is, we are going to go live. We'll be back on Monday with Mike for Power Hour, and then we'll do our Tuesday show and on and on and on. So we appreciate your viewership and your listenership, and have a good weekend, everyone. We'll talk to you soon. Keep hitting and hustling.